You're very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup. We're here in the sunny market town of Nenagh. Myself here at Roisin, and we're joined by Tipperary Fáil TD for Tipperary North, Ryan O'Barr. Ryan, very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup.
Thanks very much, and thanks for having me and for travelling to Nenagh here today. You're both very, very welcome.
Yeah, I suppose, Ryan, first of all, you got elected to the Dáil there only a couple of months back. What got you interested in politics?
I guess I was always involved in the community. We were not a political family until more recent times, so grew up in the family volunteering a lot in the community. No matter what it was, we were just stuck in the middle of a lot of things, and I really value the sense of community. I value the sense of being able to help those around you. I studied politics, international relations and economics in college, that led on to a master's in common law. So I joined Fianna Fáil around leaving cert year. I was always very interested in politics following it, but joined the party, felt it was the right party for me, particularly under Micheál Martin's leadership, and that led to me getting active at grassroots level in the party. Then when I moved back to Nenagh after college, it was during COVID times, so things were all up in the air, and I was finishing my masters from home then. I got a job working as a Parliamentary Assistant here in North Tipperary, and there was a space in this area for the County Council. We didn't have a seat out of the 5 seats here in the County Council, so I decided to run last June for the Council, won the seat back after 10 years of not having a seat for Fianna Fáil in this area, and then the general election came up, and I ended up in the ticket with only a short run into the campaign, 26 days.
Something like 26 days must have been an absolute whirlwind. What would have been your political team who said you had an interest in politics for a long time?
I suppose I always valued Fianna Fáil's impact on Irish history and how we were so instrumental in the development of this country. Sean Lemass, certainly as a previous leader of Fianna Fáil, and his work, particularly in the economic area of this country, I think is something that is inspiring to people right across all political parties, and I think there is recognition for his influence in the development of this country. On an international perspective, I think Barack Obama was around the time when I was really getting interested in politics, and I actually lived not far from Moneygall during that whole period as well, so that gave the extra bit of interest. But his political communication, the way he built such an enormous campaign and coalition of people at a time in American politics that I think a lot of us will remember for a long time to come, and particularly on the communication side of it. So those two in particular.
That's interesting. And North Tipperary, massive constituency, and it also takes in parts of North West Kilkenny, which is the home of the Irish political roundup. How have you found the last couple of months as a TD representative?
Yes, it is, and I suppose you realise how big a constituency is when you start canvassing them. First of all, I guess for the last 2 Dáil terms, Tipperary as a whole county was one constituency, so that was enormous altogether. It still is very big, and there is an enormous challenge there of having to cross a county bounds but also a provincial bounds, and it's very hard on the people, particularly North West Kilkenny, that got moved for the last general election, to feel that they have representation. We would have a similar experience here, so we're standing in Nenagh right now, but only a few miles out the road in 2016 was in County Offaly, a huge section of North Tipperary. In 2020, Newport and parts of Bird Hill were moved into Limerick City constituency, so we have that familiar experience ourselves. From my point of view as a new TD, there's certainly a steep learning curve. There's like any new job, you're trying to set up offices and staff and come to terms with learning a brief. So that takes time, but at the same time, having been a Parliamentary Assistant and a County Councillor, a lot of the work is familiar as well.
You know the nuts and bolts. And what are the big issues and topics coming up on the doors and the high street and small rural villages that surround Nenagh and other areas here in Tipperary?
Number one, I guess, is housing. Has been, I guess, particularly from my point of view as a younger politician in the country, crime and antisocial behaviour were very big issues during the general election, and I think Jim O'Callaghan has been doing a very good job to date as Minister for Justice. We then have disability services and access to special education for children with special needs. And then particularly here where we're standing is the Midwest region for the HSE and the challenges around UHL, the need for a second A&E back in this region. There's a HIGWA review review ongoing at the moment to assess that need, and we'll see how that report is published possibly around May time. So those are some of the bigger issues. There are other ones, of course. If we look around us right here, there's the need for investment in our towns and villages to tackle dereliction or vacancy behind me, which is ongoing, to continue to enhance public realm, to make sure our main streets in our towns and villages are vibrant and occupied, either the commercial spaces but also the residential spaces as well.
But back to the issue of how the challenge right across the country. What are how is North Tipperary faring in this regard?
It's a struggle, yeah. There's major pressure on the market at the moment. I guess from my point of view, what I've consistently said and continue to say since I've been in the Dáil is that it is the defining issue affecting my generation. So it's younger people who are struggling to rent at affordable rates or can't, get a mortgage or find somewhere affordable to purchase. Affordable purchase is a major issue in North Tipperary and in northwest Kilkenny. Then there's those working families that are really trying to get their foot in the property ladder as well, and faced with childcare costs as well as rent or mortgage costs. And older people that are pensioners now that have possibly rented all their lives and don't have that security of tenure or are fearful that they could get a notice to quit. So there's a challenge for social housing to provide single occupancy or one bedroom houses, single story dwellings for older people or people with disabilities that is really being unmet at the moment, and there's a lot of work needed on that. But across social housing then 2, 3, 4 bed houses, and then affordable housing as well. We need far more affordable housing schemes in North Tipperary. I know that private development has worked well in Kilkenny City. Obviously a lot more is needed, but we're not seeing the same investment in the private market coming into North Tipperary at the moment, and I'm trying to get action on First Home scheme to see if that would stimulate that area of the private market as well.
Yeah. And you mentioned universal property, you're about 40,000 from home. If say you had a life situation, you would have to travel more than 40,000. That must be a concern for a lot.
It is, yeah. There is huge concern around UHL in this constituency, particularly in Nenagh, but right across North Tipperary. I won't shy back from saying that. It's something you openly get on the doors or walking down the street, and it's important for me to vocalise that. It's one emergency department servicing over 400,000 people. We don't have that statistic anywhere else in the country. Nenagh Hospital is a fantastic hospital. I know the people of Nenagh are very proud of it. There's incredible work done there in a lot of areas, but particularly the minor injuries unit, which people often aren't aware of, that in a lot of cases, people, while the minor injuries unit is open during the day, could go there rather than going to UHL, but people aren't aware of that. There's also pressure around Shannondock services in North Tipperary, which means when they're full in the evening or at the weekend, people get referred into UHL when they don't need to be in an emergency department. So there is a lot of work needed around primary care right across the country, but particularly in North Tipperary, to keep people out of an emergency department when they don't need to be in it. And we're also seeing people in North Tipperary travelling to maybe Galway, Ballinasloe, Portumna, that's not Portumna, it's Portlaoise, or Clonmel, for example, rather than going to UHL, because they're fearful of the trolley situation in there at particular points. So it is something I've been vocalising in the Dáil at least twice, if not 3 times now. I've posed questions on that ICWA review because I want to see it published as quickly as possible, and I want to see the government fully committed to whatever the outcome of that review is.
Yeah, so we await the outcome of this report. And on the Irish political round, we've been covering water infrastructure about in the last number of weeks. Like we see in other parts of the country that due to the lack of water treatment services, withholding of housing, and we're seeing people having their water cut off due to maintenance. So are you seeing similar issues like that here in North Tipperary?
The particular pinch point for us is wastewater treatment or sewerage services. So in Nenagh town, where we are right now, we thought there was capacity in our wastewater treatment system for another few hundred houses before the expansion was needed. There's planning in at the moment by Irish Water to expand the wastewater treatment system in Nenagh. But because of the growth of population in this town, we expected about a 1% growth in population. It's been far in excess of that, which we found out last summer, particularly from the census. And as a result of that, without houses being built on scale here, or a large number of houses, our plant is now at capacity, which is a major concern, because now it's looking like, at the moment, we have 138 social houses approved for planning permission in Nenagh, and none of them can be built until they get permission from Irish Water to join into the system. And we don't know if we're going to be able to get that permission until the plant is upgraded, which is going to take a number of years. And at the same time, we have planning permission for hundreds of private houses in the market here in this town. And it doesn't look like they can commence until we get the permission to connect into the system. So that's Nenagh alone. Just outside of Nenagh here, two very high profile cases are Chleirigh and Ballycommon as well, where plants are at capacity and no building can take place. In Ballycommon, a small village, we could have about 33 houses built, or building at the moment, if we could only get capacity in the system. Chleirigh is similar, with no social or private houses being able to be built or connected into the system. And there are only three examples. We're seeing it right across rural Ireland, or outside of certainly our major urban areas, and it's an issue that is coming up every single week at the Fianna Fáil Parliamentary Party meetings too.
And it's certainly, from what we've gathered from Ireland, it's something that, if it's not cracked now, a lot of rural towns like Nenagh, like Cleirigh, they're not going to be able to provide those houses for young people who want to get a start.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think particularly rural villages, because if we see population decline, there are certainly not a population of younger families coming in. That's going to impact our schools, it's going to impact our clubs, whether it's GA, soccer or anything else, or it's going to impact local businesses, the local shops staying open, the local pubs staying open. We need that constant refresh of new houses being built, so new people are coming in, or not even new people, but younger people that grew up in that village or parish now want to have their own home there. So there is a major concern around that. I would, particularly for Cleirigh as an example, and I use that example quite often because it's an example of so many villages around the country and the needs. Now, I appreciate this government has committed to investing at the largest scale in the history of the state in our water and wastewater infrastructure network. That was in our manifesto in the general election, but also in the programme for government. So that funding is going to come. But what we need to see equally matched in that is a sense of urgency from Irish Water to deliver those projects at pace, not to say they will deliver them in 5, 10, 15 years' time. We need them yesterday.
Exactly. And Roisin and I, we were having a little walk around.
Come in there.
Yeah.
Lovely.
We were having a little walk around, and we say you're very welcome.
Thank you, Bob.
It's a lovely rural market town. I think when you come,
It is.
the sign is because it's really lovely to see kind of a town that has really shop for.
I think it's very, you can't wait with your front shops and the small local businesses really impact you in Nenagh.
Yeah, Nenagh is a good town. It's going well at the moment, but it's constantly takes a lot of work to keep it at that level as well. So actually, just on Friday evening here behind us in the tourist office, there was a Meet the Town team event where the Nenagh Town team, fairly newly established in the last year, are focused on a huge amount of issues, whether it's dereliction or vacancy in the town, even our traffic flows and our systems, pedestrian safety, but one group in particular that was discussing our shop fronts and maintaining them. But Nenagh would have a lot of independent cafes, boutiques, clothes shops, a lot of independent, locally owned businesses, which is a brilliant thing to keep in a town, because it keeps local employment, it keeps the money that is spent in the town as well. So we always do try to promote shop local campaigns in the town, but also it's an attractive place for people to come and shop as well. It's also Nenagh a very, very welcoming town. I think it's quite well known for that. So I guess there's constant challenges around our traffic systems. We have a new one in place to try and improve traffic flows in the town, parking for the people that want to come into the town centre as well, and public transport access as well for people to get here. So it's a lovely place to be from, it's a lovely place to live, it's a lovely place to spend your time here. So certainly if you're Kilkenny listeners listening, well, I appreciate Kilkenny is a beautiful city, but I have a lot of time for it. They'd be welcome to Nenagh any time for a day's shopping or even an overnight stay.
And I was really, really interested because we spoke to you very briefly on the phone, but time didn't allow us for your schedule and our schedule to interview you before the general election.
Yes.
And then on the day that everybody reconvened up the Dail in December, your great aunt was there, and we
Yes.
met her in Wishwell.
Yes.
And she said, "Oh my God, my grandnephew, he's TD." And I said, "Oh my gosh." So it was lovely today to meet your mother as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
And get to know, I think an awful lot of voters, they want to know the man behind the politics.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's about, like, you're doing a lot of social media work. I try to do it as well, because it's important for people to genuinely know you and to stay authentic, and I feel social media can be a great way to do that. But yeah, during the campaign, there's no doubt that my family were an incredible support. The Fianna Fáil organisation in North Tipperary and North West Kilkenny were brilliant as well. Like we said at the very beginning of this interview, we had 26 days to canvass. That's all we had. And obviously, as a newer, younger candidate getting out there to places I wasn't known, made that a bigger challenge than pretty much anyone else would have faced in the field in North Tipperary. But it worked, and it worked because of that team. And yeah, I guess staying as an authentic version of myself as a politician is very important to me, and will be a constant challenge to make sure I stay that way in politics as well.
Well, I really picked up very strongly from people talking to the family members who I just met very briefly, but even just we're only a couple of feet away from your office.
Yeah.
The amount of people that come up and shook your hand, and when they come up here, somebody shouted, "Oh, Amara for president!" And the amount of people that I took in the horn and everything. But what I'm just picking up from your great aunt and from your mum, family values are very core values too.
Absolutely, yeah. I think in politics, you need that support behind you. You won't get very far in politics without it. Without that team behind you, that support network, the people that are watching out for you. And having them, especially based in the community, keeps your 2 feet on the ground as well. Because in my job now, I spend about 3 days a week in Dublin, in Dail Eireann, when the Dáil is sitting. Trying to stay connected at all times is a challenge now, and making sure you're doing the job right and staying true to the people that elected you as well, and the reason that they elected you. So having that team around me and keeping me focused is brilliant. Yeah.
And so tell us a bit. My son is actually in North Tipperary in your constituency in Chleirigh.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, so he just moved.
I have a cousin married there as well, so I do. Yeah. So I know as well. Yeah.
So he bought an old partition, and he's in Defence Forces. So
Very good.
He's gone back over now in May to South Lebanon. So it's a massive constituency that you're in, especially taking in North Kilkenny, North West Kilkenny.
Yeah. You do it. If you think about the distance from here, or particularly where we are here, there's still quite a distance of North Tipperary above us the whole way up to the bounds with Portumna or Burr. The entire way, if you were to drive that the entire way down to Tullaroan as a very good example. It is a large distance, but most constituencies are big as well. Like we said in the beginning, that in the last 2 general elections, all of Tipperary, or most of Tipperary, was in one constituency, which was vast as well. And I guess Carlow Kilkenny as a constituency geographically would be quite big as well, and they're facing similar challenges in terms of 2 different local authorities. But it is very hard, and I said that at the beginning, and I would always recognise that it is very hard for people in one county having to vote in another as well. We've experienced it here. So it's about being accessible as a politician as much as possible. You were in my office here in Nenagh. It still needs renovations, but it's somewhat up and going. I just have an agreement on one in Thurles now, which will be opening shortly, which is great as well.
And where would that be located in Thurles?
In this middle of Thurles town, yeah. So that will be somewhat more accessible to the people of Kilkenny. I appreciate, especially the likes of the Urlingford side. It's not far at all. And then for me to outreach as a politician from clinics in the other areas as well. But I guess you'd be doing a lot of social media. I do it as well to be accessible. So I would have quite a lot of people from Kilkenny contacting me on social media, Facebook and Instagram in particular, which is great for a modern form of politics that are accessible to people so easily. And it's something I try to continue to do as well.
So tell us a bit about the man behind the politics. Are you interested in sport? What are your interests?
But I guess one of the big things that came out of the general election was our somewhat viral video with Irish dancing. So in the town here, my brother and his wife have an Irish dancing school. It's been quite a successful Irish dancing school, but it's something we grew up around, was music and dance, and our culture and heritage is very, very important to me. So on Taoiseach Micheál Martin was canvassing with me here one Sunday afternoon during the general election, and we put on a display in the Irish dancing school for him. But as it progressed, we realised that I was probably going to have to get up and dance as well. So I'd come out of retirement. It had been a few years since I was on stage. But we did that on the day, and yeah, it was picked up big time on social media. It was a big part of the campaign in the end, which was completely unexpected and completely unplanned.
From connecting to the rural, the culture, your Irish culture, so very, very much connected to the Irish culture.
I think it's very important.
Music and dancing.
Yeah, I think that it's hugely important, keeping young people particularly connected to that and our roots. And I guess tomorrow I'll be down in Porky as well for Tip in Cork in the league final. So that's all. It's an important part of our heritage and our culture, whether it's our sport, our music, our dance, or our language in particular. And to cherish that and really try and promote it.
Randy, you said that your grammatics and common law.
Yeah.
So you haven't been in the door. You would actually know an awful lot about legislation.
Yeah. I thought it was important when I had such an interest in politics from years back that I tried to educate myself in it as well. And the Masters in Common Law was a huge help for that, coming out of the undergrad in Political Science, International Relations and Economics, to have that grounding as well. Has been helpful so far, but there's still a huge amount of learning going into, being a legislator now and looking at what bills I want to progress as well. So actually just during the week, I would have been with Senator Fianna O'Loughlin on the plinth for with the media in relation to catfishing legislation.
Yeah.
So Senator O'Loughlin has introduced a bill into Dail Eireann, which we're hoping to progress through there and then get into the Dáil to amend the Non-Fatal Offences Against the Person Act to make it an illegal offence or a criminal offence to catfish online. So I guess it's looking at laws like that we can enact, particularly as a younger person, looking at issues that maybe other politicians might pick up on that are affecting not just younger people in this country, but particularly younger people. So it's nice to be in the legislating realm already on that side of things too.
Well, definitely, Omar, it's been an absolute pleasure for Paul and I to come down to Nenagh to actually meet you in person and an interview, as an introduction interview to the Irish Political Roundup. And one of the main values and purposes of the Irish Political Roundup is to give a platform to rural TDs who might not necessarily get the airtime on national television.
Brilliant.
So
Thanks very much for your time. Yeah, it was lovely to have you here today. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you so much from Roisin de Chleirigh
I'm Paul Brophy.
from Nenagh with the Irish Political Roundup.